For decades, the world has told a single story about Africa, one of poverty, dependence, and stagnation. A continent rich in gold, diamonds, oil, and the very minerals that power modern technology, yet one that does not own its future. A continent full of brilliant minds, yet forced to rely on foreign innovation. A continent that should be leading yet is always following. But today, something extraordinary has happened. In the heart of West Africa, a small nation once overlooked by the world has just made history. Burkina Faso, a country known more for its struggles than its successes, has unveiled its first locally assembled electric vehicle. And behind this revolutionary moment stands a leader unlike any other. Ibrahim Traoré, the young, fearless leader of Burkina Faso, who refuses to bow to foreign control. A leader who, at just 34 years old, took on not just the challenges of his own country, but the weight of an entire continent's struggle for independence. This is not just about an electric car, as revolutionary and extraordinary as that is. This is about an idea, a movement, a vision that threatens to rewrite history. For the first time, Africa is not just a supplier of raw materials. It is building, producing, innovating. But here's the question. Will the world allow it? Or will powerful forces step in to stop this revolution before it even begins? Today, we dive deep into the story of the Itawa EV, what it means for Africa, and why this one event could trigger a chain reaction that changes everything. This is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about the battle for Africa's future, a battle that is only just beginning. You can help spread the good news far and wide with a few simple actions. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos on the struggle and liberation of Africa and the Black race. Together, we can change Africa's story, one video at a time. Burkina Faso has recently achieved a significant milestone by launching its first locally manufactured electric vehicle, named Itawa. Developed by Burkinabe engineers in a state-of-the-art facility located in Ouaga 2000, a prominent district in the capital city, this initiative underscores the nation's commitment to technological innovation and environmental sustainability. The Itawa electric vehicle boasts impressive specifications, including a range of 330 kilometers on a single charge, with a full recharge achievable in just 30 minutes. This efficiency positions it as a competitive player in the evolving African electric mobility landscape. Two models have been introduced, the Native and the Sahel. The Sahel model is particularly noteworthy for its advanced features, such as a digital dashboard with a touchscreen interface, integrated GPS navigation, a rear-view camera, parking sensors, Bluetooth connectivity, and USB ports. For safety, it includes power steering and an anti-lock braking system, ABS. Additionally, a model with a 500-kilometer range is anticipated to be released soon. These vehicles are designed to be eco-friendly, being fully electric, and capable of solar-powered recharging. Plans are underway to establish rapid charging stations across the country, enabling a 20-minute recharge. Owners will also have the convenience of charging their vehicles at home, similar to charging a mobile phone.
The Itawa company officially launches its brand of electric vehicles of the same name in Burkina. Itawa is a Burkina company which is bringing a varied range of 100% electric vehicles to market. But to begin with, it was the Natives and Sahel models that were presented to the public. At the wheel for the inaugural test drive was Minister Sergiani Dempada, in charge of industry. This is a Burkinabe 100% electric vehicle capable of covering 330 kilometers after only 30 minutes of charging their Ottawa native pure product stemming from the varied range of the Burkinabe electric vehicle company Autoes. By choosing Itawa, you don't just choose a mode of transport. You are choosing a vision, a movement towards sustainable mobility. You must be an integral part of a community that values innovation, quality, and respect for our environment. Every time you get behind the wheel of an Itawa vehicle, you'll be taking part in a collective adventure to build a greener, more prosperous Burkina Faso. Also presented at the ceremony was the Ottawa Sahel, another element in the revolution launched by its national promoters and designed with the expertise of Burkinabe engineers. This initiative, which is intended to symbolize the Burkina people's commitment to technological innovation, is fully in line with the vision of the highest authorities, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré during his many addresses. In Burkina Faso, has always appealed to the sons and daughters of our country, always invited all Burkinabes to have faith in our country, to invest first and foremost in our country, to contribute to the economic development of Burkina Faso and the social development of our people, to the social well-being of Burkinabes. The Itawa company's creative range includes models such as the Athena Kuru, the Oka, the Land Holder, and the list goes on. Utahua announces the official launch of its Ouagadougou brand vehicle assembly company in the coming days.
To understand why this is such a historic moment for Burkina Faso and the entire African continent, we need to talk about the man behind it. Because this is not just about this extraordinary innovation of the Burkinabe engineers, it's about leadership, vision, and defiance in the face of global power. Ibrahim Traoré is not just another politician. He is not a corporate CEO pushing electric vehicles for profit. He is something different, something rare. A leader who is young, bold, and above all, unafraid. In September 2022, at just 34 years old, Ibrahim Traoré became the world's youngest head of state, taking power through a military coup. In a country plagued by instability, terrorism, and economic hardship, Traoré did not rise to power with promises of Western aid or foreign investment. No, he took a different path, a path of self-reliance. And from the very beginning, his message was clear. Burkina Faso will no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. He immediately cut ties with France, the former colonial ruler that had maintained a tight grip on Burkina Faso's economy and security for decades. He expelled French troops, removed French companies from key industries, and aligned himself with other African leaders seeking independence from foreign control. Some called him reckless, others called him a revolutionary. But Traoré's vision goes beyond politics. Unlike many leaders before him, he understands that true independence is not just about removing foreign troops. It's about building, producing, creating industries that belong to Africa, not to multinational corporations. And that is exactly what he is trying to do. This is where the Itawa EV comes in. A locally assembled electric vehicle made not for the elite, but for the people. A symbol of Burkina Faso's new direction. A future where Africa controls its resources, its own economy, and its own technology. This is a declaration that Burkina Faso is ready to break free from economic dependency and take control of its industrial future. For decades, Africa has been seen as a mere consumer, importing foreign-made vehicles and relying on external technologies. But now, with Itawa, Burkina Faso is proving that it can innovate, manufacture, and compete on the global stage. This launch is a turning point. It signals a commitment to homegrown solutions, job creation, and sustainable development. By building an electric vehicle industry, Burkina Faso is not just embracing the future of mobility, it's ensuring that the future is African-led. The Itawa EV represents a shift from resource extraction to value creation, from dependence to self-sufficiency. And it doesn't stop here. With plans to expand charging infrastructure and develop even more advanced models, this is just the beginning of a larger vision, one where Burkina Faso and Africa as a whole no longer wait for the world to bring progress, but build it with its own hands. The Itawa EV is not just a car, it is a statement, a bold declaration that Africa will no longer just consume what others produce. It is a challenge to the global automotive industry, a system that has long kept Africa as nothing more than a supplier of raw materials. Never the manufacturer, never the innovator, never the owner of the technology itself. But that narrative is being shattered right now in Burkina Faso. For the first time, an African nation that has been historically overlooked is taking its first steps into the world of electric vehicle manufacturing. This is not a product of foreign corporations. It is not a foreign-designed vehicle with an African label slapped on it. No, This is the first of what could be many African-built, African-owned innovations that keep wealth and industry where it belongs, inside Africa. For over a century, Africa has been treated as the world's resource bank, rich in lithium, cobalt, and rare earth metals, the very materials needed to power electric cars, smartphones, and advanced technology. But when it comes to actually producing high-tech goods, Africa has always been cut out of the equation. Until now. The Itawa EV is a symbol of what's possible when African nations decide to build rather than just supply. It represents a new kind of revolution, not one fought with guns or protests, but with industry, innovation, and economic self-sufficiency. Burkina Faso is showing the world that Africa can do more than just dig up minerals and ship them overseas. Africa can build, Africa can innovate, and Africa can own its future. But there's something even bigger at play here. This isn't just about the production of electric vehicles, it's about energy. For decades, Africa's economy has been chained to oil, an industry controlled by multinational corporations, an industry that has fueled corruption, environmental destruction, and economic instability. The Itawa EV represents a new path, a move toward renewable energy, a vision of African cities powered by solar grids instead of imported fuel, a future where Burkina Faso and other nations are not held hostage by global oil markets. Imagine a world where Africa doesn't just have to buy expensive gasoline or diesel, but instead powers its own cars with its own electricity generated from its own sun, wind, and rivers. Here is a tweet made by a Burkinabe on social media to celebrate the launch of the Itawa vehicles. Impossible is not Burkinabe, we say. On national television today, we were shown the inauguration of electric vehicles, 100% made in Burkina Faso by Burkinabe engineers. I must say that was a pleasant surprise, because to be honest, I had no clue that an automobile factory was created in my own country. That's when I recall Captain Traore's New Year's Eve address, where he announced that some factories were created without any public communication, and that more factories will be created this year. My first impression was that this is a good development, and I know that we have plans to build a civil nuclear energy plant. However, how are we going to solve electricity shortages that also affect us? Then I realized that we manufacture our own solar panels, so much so that the state had to regulate the import of foreign solar panels to boost local production and consumption. We have the sun 365 days. This post clearly shows that this is only the beginning for Captain Ibrahim Traoré and Burkina Faso. And if this is only the beginning, then what lies ahead is nothing short of a revolution. The creation of more factories means more than just industrial growth. It means economic liberation. For decades, Burkina Faso's wealth was siphoned away, its people left to struggle while foreign interests reaped the benefits of its resources. But today, under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, the country is forging a new path, one where Burkinabe hands build Burkinabe industries, and Burkinabe industries generate wealth for Burkinabe people. With each new factory, a new opportunity is born. Job creation will no longer be an empty political promise, but a tangible reality. Thousands of young men and women long denied a future under the weight of exploitation will now have the chance to work, earn, and contribute to a nation that is finally prioritizing its own citizens. Every factory built is another step towards self-sufficiency, less reliance on imports, more domestic production, and a stronger, more resilient economy. And the ripple effects go even further. As the industrial base expands, so too will the need for skilled labor, training programs, and educational advancements. More engineers, more technicians, more entrepreneurs. Burkina Faso is not just investing in infrastructure, it is investing in its people. The country's push for industrialization, powered by its abundant solar energy and reinforced by policies that protect local production, is a clear message. The era of dependence is over. The future belongs to those who build it, and Burkina Faso is proving that it will no longer wait for permission to rise. This is nation-building in its purest form, and the world is witnessing the rebirth of a country determined to control its own destiny. But a revolution is never easy. Burkina Faso has fired the first shot in a war for economic independence. The Itawa EV is proof that Africa can innovate. But now comes the hardest part, turning a single success into an unstoppable movement. Because if Burkina Faso is serious about building an automotive industry, it must overcome 4 massive challenges, and the world will be watching, waiting, to see if they fail. 1. Scaling up. Can Burkina Faso compete with global manufacturers? The global automotive industry is a brutal battlefield, dominated by giants like Tesla, Toyota, and Volkswagen, companies that have spent decades perfecting mass production. Can Burkina Faso, a country with limited industrial infrastructure, even begin to compete? Right now, the Itawa EV is being assembled in small numbers. But to truly disrupt the market, Burkina Faso must do what no African nation has done before: scale production to an industrial level. This means building factories, training workers, and creating a supply chain capable of producing thousands of vehicles per year. And that leads to the next major challenge. 2. Infrastructure. The missing piece of the puzzle. An electric vehicle is useless without a way to charge it. In cities like New York, Beijing, and Berlin, EV charging stations are everywhere. But in Burkina Faso, they are almost non-existent. If Burkina Faso wants an EV revolution, it must invest in the infrastructure to support it. This means nationwide charging networks, reliable electricity grids, and better roads to transport materials and finished vehicles. Without these, the Itawa EV will remain a symbolic achievement, not a practical one. But even if these challenges can be overcome, there is a much bigger threat waiting in the shadows. 3. Political resistance. Will the world allow this revolution to happen? History has shown us a dangerous pattern. Every time an African leader dares to challenge the status quo, powerful forces push back. Thomas Sankara tried to build an independent Burkina Faso, but he was assassinated. Patrice Lumumba wanted economic freedom for the Congo. He was removed. Muammar Gaddafi dreamed of an African gold-backed currency. He was destroyed. So now, the question must be asked: will the world allow Burkina Faso to succeed? Will Western governments, multinational corporations, and even internal political elites accept an Africa that manufactures its own technology and controls its own resources? Or will they try to stop this revolution before it spreads? Because make no mistake, if Burkina Faso succeeds, it will inspire others. And if other African nations follow, the balance of global economic power will shift. That is not something the old powers will accept easily. 4. Funding the dream. Where will the money come from? Building an industry takes money. A lot of money. Tesla didn't become a giant overnight. It took billions of dollars in investment. Burkina Faso does not have that luxury. It does not have the financial backing of Wall Street or Silicon Valley. It does not have the support of the World Bank or the IMF, institutions that have historically kept African economies dependent, not independent. So how does Burkina Faso fund this dream? Can it attract African investors? Can it build partnerships with other rising economies like China or Russia? Or will it have to rely on its own people, its own government, and its own natural resources to make this vision a reality? The answer to this question will determine whether the Itawa EV is just a moment in history or the beginning of something unstoppable. One thing is clear: this is Burkina Faso's moment of truth. The Itawa EV is a test of Africa's ability to build, innovate, and resist external pressure. A test of whether economic independence is truly possible in a world that profits from African dependence. The road ahead will not be easy. There will be resistance, there will be challenges. But if Burkina Faso succeeds, It could spark an industrial revolution across the entire continent. When one nation rises, others take notice. Just like South Korea, Japan, and China built their own industries and transformed into global economic powerhouses, the same could happen in Africa. If Burkina Faso succeeds, it could set off a chain reaction. Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa, these nations already have the resources, the manpower, and the market. All they need is the spark. And the Itawa EV might just be the match that ignites an industrial revolution across the continent. In the 20th century, Asia was seen as nothing more than a source of cheap labor. But then, something changed. Japan rose, South Korea rose, China rose. They stopped being just suppliers and started becoming manufacturers, innovators, global leaders. Now, Africa stands at the same crossroads. If it invests in technology, production, and self-sufficiency, it could become the next global manufacturing hub. It could become the next Asia, but only if it takes control of its own industries and refuses to let foreign powers dictate its future. More than 60% of Africa's population is under 25. This is the youngest continent in the world, and that means one thing: the future belongs to them. Will this generation embrace self-sufficiency? Will they demand local innovation over foreign dependence? Will they build the industries their parents never had? Because if they do, Africa's rise will be unstoppable. There is one final question, the most difficult one of all, because history has taught us a painful lesson. Every time Africa tries to stand on its own, outside forces step in. Will Africa be allowed to rise? Or will the same forces that crushed past revolutions try to crush this one too? Will foreign corporations, global banks, and political powers work behind the scenes to keep Africa dependent? Or will this time be different? The world is watching. Africa is moving. The question is, will this be just another moment? Another headline? Another forgotten achievement? Or is this the beginning of something far greater? A new era? An Africa that builds, owns, and controls its own future? Let us know what you think in the comments. If Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traoré's journey inspires you, stand with us. Like this video, share it far and wide, and subscribe to our channel to amplify the voice of a leader who refuses to bow to pressure. This is not just Burkina Faso's fight, it's Africa's fight. History is unfolding, and the world needs to know.